Welcome to ECSIQ Prep Course on how to ace your customer service job interview. I'm Zach Rosa, and I'm excited to walk you through this course. This course will apply to you if you are preparing for any of the following job positions: waiter, waitress, call center representative, technical support representative, general customer care representative, technical support analyst, technical sales support representative, sales product support representative, receptionist, administrative assistant, administrative support, executive assistant, telecommuting field service representative, customer care associate, contact center agent, client service representative, or retail. As you can see, this course will prepare you for a multitude of customer service job position interviews. The goal of this course is to prepare you so that you can ace your customer service job interview. This course has 20 parts that are 15 minutes long each. The total time that it will take you to finish this course is 5 hours. Now, it's totally go at your own pace. This is a completely comprehensive course, and it's designed so that at the completion of these videos, you will be completely prepared for your customer service job interview. Part 1 of this course will cover what the interviewer will expect from you, what to expect from the interviewer, and what to expect from this course. Regarding what the interviewer is expecting from you, the interviewer is looking for a whole package. The interviewer is looking to see that you have an air of professionalism, that you have clear communication skills, that you have past experience, that you have knowledge of the company you're interviewing with, that you have great personal character, and that you have the ability to work as a team. Now, there should also be things that you expect from the interviewer. You should expect that the interviewer greet you in a kind manner, that the interviewer remain respectful to you throughout the interview, that the interviewer maintain a professional atmosphere, and of course, you're going to expect the interviewer to ask questions and then offer you an opportunity to ask questions to him or her. And you're going to be expecting the interviewer to direct the interview throughout the process. Now let's talk a little bit about what you can expect from this course. Now, the content of this course is derived based on what the interviewer is expecting from you and what you should be expecting from the interviewer. This course is completely comprehensive and very detailed. All right, so now I'm going to walk you through what this course is going to cover, each part, and a little bit about what each part is going to cover. In part 2, we're going to talk about how you can best spend your time preparing for your interview, some tips on what you can think about, some ways in which you can go the extra mile if you want to do more than just what this course is going to cover. Then we're also going to talk about what you need to do before your interview. In part 3, we're going to be discussing your professionalism, or what you're supposed to wear for your interview, how to behave during the interview to maintain this air of professionalism. And then a very important aspect of being professional is balancing confidence with humility. So we're going to go into a lot of detail about that and how you can express a level of confidence while at the same time not looking arrogant and staying humble. In part 4, we're going to be covering your vocal delivery. Vocal delivery is extremely important. The last thing you want to have to do in the interview is have to repeat your answer. One of the biggest problems and reasons for why you will have to repeat your answer is because the interview didn't catch what you were saying, because either you're going too fast or you didn't enunciate the words correctly. So under vocal delivery, we're going to be covering some ways in which you can be sure to clearly state your answers and clearly articulate what thoughts you have on your mind or the content and the great content of what you have to say. So under vocal delivery, we're going to cover enunciation, projection, rate, which is speed, proper use of pausing, your vocal inflections, elimination of filler words, use of correct grammar, and avoiding extremes. In part 5, we're going to be talking about your physical delivery. We're going to discuss your body posture. What are some ways in which you can maintain an open body posture, which is very important in an interview. We're going to talk about your handshake, how to have the best professional handshake. Your facial expressions, how to make your face match the content of what you're saying. Your hand gestures. Hand gestures can be very difficult for some people, but there's actually a very, very simple solution to having proper, natural-looking hand gestures. We're going to talk about the elimination of jerky movements. We're going to talk about sitting properly, some ways in which when you're sitting there during the interview, you can look engaged just based on how you hold yourself and sit there. And then also in physical delivery, we're going to talk about avoiding extremes. So as you've probably noticed, 2 parts of this preparation course are dedicated exclusively to clear communication skills and learning how to have those clear communication skills. Studies show that 97% of your ability to persuade someone doesn't necessarily come from the content of what you're saying, but rather from how you say it. So clear communication skills are extremely important during an interview, and they will definitely set you apart from the competition that you have. Okay, in parts 6 through 9, we're going to be going over some skills that you need to show proficiency in throughout your interview. Now, what I mean by this is these are the type of skills that as a customer service representative you're going to need to have. So when you go into your interview, be prepared to answer questions over any of these specific skills, know what these skills are, and be able to explain how your experience shows and demonstrates that you know these skills. So in part 6, we'll be covering telephone communication skills, professionalism, data entry and basic computer skills, and clarity. Under part 7, we'll cover conflict resolution, handling surprises, organization skills, persuasion skills, and balancing extroversion with introversion. In part 8, we'll be covering closing conversation, attentiveness, teamwork, managing conversational flow, and taking sincere responsibility. And in part 9, we'll talk about reading a customer, using positive language, attention to detail, memorization skills, and humor. The answering questions part of this resource is one of the most unique aspects of this specific course. I am super excited to get to this part of the course, mainly because I know how helpful this strategy for preparing for questions can be. This specific formula goes all the way back to my high school speech and debate years. I used this formula during my competition years. I use this formula every time I've had to prepare for an interview myself. And I've used this formula with the many students that I've worked with as a communications coach to prepare them for their interviews. This is the key to preparing for the interview questions in a time-efficient and thorough way. Many people spend countless hours going through hundreds of possible questions and spend quite a bit of time preparing for each one. This formula will both drastically reduce the time you need to put into preparing for questions, and it will give you the peace of mind and confidence you need to go into that interview room knowing that you are prepared to answer anything your interviewer may throw at you. In the past 7 to 8 years, this formula has made my job a ton easier. It all boils down to boiling things down. And what I mean by that is I like to break things down into really understanding why a question is being asked. I need to know where the interviewer is coming from. The team at ECSIQ has boiled down the hundreds of questions into 4 simple to understand categories. By understanding these 4 categories, you will have everything you need to ace the answering questions portion of your interview. Now, the way the answering questions portion of this course is structured is we'll spend 2 parts on each question category. The first part of each question category will cover how to build a brief on it. And the second part, we'll talk about the question and answers. We'll go through a bunch of questions and go through their answers and talk about some strategies and some ways you can answer these questions. Now, regarding part 10, we're going to cover the first part of the first category, and that first category is the personal experience category. In this category, we're going to cover the questions that an interviewer will ask you specifically directed to the experience you've had as a customer service representative. In part 10, we're going to cover how to build a brief. Now, in my years of competing in debate, it taught me that if I really want to be able to win someone over in a conversation, debate, or cross-examination, I need to be able to build a brief with pertinent information. Debaters have briefs, lawyers have briefs, doctors have something like a brief. And if you want to ace your customer service interview, you need a brief. Now, thankfully, it won't be required of you to build a giant brief to prepare for your interview. The particular briefs you will need are super short. They are less than a page long each, and you will only need 1 for each category. That means that in total, you need 4 briefs that are a total of less than 4 pages. In this course, I will walk you through exactly how to build a brief, what to incorporate in your brief, and how to use your brief. It should take you no more than 15 to 20 minutes to build each brief, personalized to you. In part 11, we're going to be talking about the questions and answers specifically under the personal experience category. So we're going to go through lists of questions and then see what great answers would be to those questions. We're going to talk about some strategies behind each question and how you could answer it in an effective way. And I'll be showing you how your brief will really be able to help you in answering the vast majority of the questions under each category. In part 12, we're going to cover the next category, and that is company understanding. How much do you know about the company you're interviewing with? So in our part 12, we're going to talk about building a brief for the specific category. What do you want to incorporate in it, and how you can use the brief? In part 13, under the company understanding category, we're going to cover those question and answers again. So strategies and ways in which you can answer the questions. What type of questions are going to be under this category? Under part 14, we're going to talk about the next question category, and that is personal character. So we're going to begin with brief building, how to build a brief for the specific question category. And then in part 15, we're going to talk about the question and answers. So again, going through those questions, going through the answers, going through some strategies. In part 16, the next category is going to be teamwork. So we're going to talk about, again, building your brief. And then in part 17, we're going to talk about question and answers under teamwork. So to summarize, under the questions categories, we're going to be talking about personal experience. We're going to discuss how to build a brief and then talk about the questions and answers and strategies for answering questions. Next, we're going to talk about company understanding. How much do you know about the company? We're going to discuss, again, how to build a brief for that specific category and then talk about the questions and answers. After that, we're going to talk about your personal character category, how to build a brief, questions and answers. And then finally, we're going to talk about the teamwork category, how to build a brief, and then questions and answers. And that will cover a total of 8 parts of this course. And then, like anything else in life, there's a chance that things won't go by the books or like you're expecting. So in part 18, we're going to be spending those 15 minutes on talking about strategies for answering oddball questions, or questions that really no one can prepare for or no one really thinks of when they go in for an interview. So we're going to talk about some examples, some possible oddball questions that can't be fit in any category. And then, of course, like if you're a debater, doctor, lawyer, you always talk about strategies. What if something doesn't go by the books? What if my opponent doesn't bring up a case I know about? What if my patient has a problem that is off the books I'm not familiar with? What are some things that I need to do, I need to keep control of? And so we're going to talk about the factors that you can control in those situations and some ways in which you can be able to answer a question that you're not prepared for effectively in a clear manner. Now, at some point in the interview, most of the times it's towards the end, the interviewer may ask you if you have any potential questions you'd like to ask him or her. And in that case, you never want to turn them down. You want to be able to use this chance to make yourself shine and stand out from the other people being interviewed. And so in part 19, we're going to talk about asking questions. This is your opportunity to be able to ask a question to the interviewer about the company or something that you're concerned about. So first, we're going to talk about building a brief. This is a very small brief. It's just some simple things. It's not really a brief like any of the other ones that we were talking about earlier. This is more you're going to sit down and you're going to think through the company. You're going to think through the interviewer, and you're going to write a list of potential questions. So it's a very simple brief. We're just going to talk about how it's pretty much just a discussion on how to come up with questions. And then I'll give you a list of appropriate questions as examples. In part 20, we're to conclude with talking about final tips. So what never to do in an interview, and then what you do want to do in an interview and how you want to come across in an interview. So that'll conclude the course. That'll be what we talk about in all 20 parts. So I've walked you through part 1 through part 20. This is part 1. So part 2 through part 20. We talked about, we're going to cover professionalism, clear communication, knowledge of the question categories, and then we'll discuss answering oddball questions and asking questions, and finally talking about some final tips. Some of the final tips are like how to write a letter, a thank you letter at the end of your interview, which is very important. You want to send that right after your interview. So we'll be going over that. And just some other ways in which you can complete that whole package deal for your interviewer. If you'd like to be able to access additional resources during this course, please check out our blog and ebooks. They're totally free at www.ecustomerserviceinterviewquestions.com. Again, I'm super excited to be walking you through this course, and I'm confident that it will be helpful to you throughout this interview preparation process. Thank you for choosing ECSIQ Prep as your go-to customer service resource. This concludes part 1.